Don't worry, I'm not one of those AI tech bros that's just going to glaze it to death, but I have used the software a couple of times in extremely minor ways. I do not support the use of AI to replace human creativity or to bomb children.
What I want to do with this first part of the video is totally overlook the impact that AI has on everything and solely look at output. So the first one I want to do is probably going to be one of the most generic, and it is the chatbot. You know, being able to talk to a robot and having you talk to you sort of in kind, like sort of human-like to an extent. This chatbot has been utilized in many different ways, such as simply role-playing chatbot. Maybe it can write some code for you or write a novel or stuff like that. It does pretty good for mimicking humans, I would think. Further context will be required to determine whether the chatbot is actually really ethical. But for right now, I'll just put this at a C. Now here's where we get into the nitty-gritty of chatbots. First of all, we have the use of chatbots as non-player characters. In theory, this is a great application, you know? Basically, instead of a dialogue tree, you have a dialogue four-dimensional tree. I don't know. Remember that game where you were a vampire and you had to dress up in disguises and convince people to let them inside your house through dialogue? That is a great application of the NPC chatbot. So I'm putting this in A. Now here's where my commentary on chatbots goes sour. The drive-through chatbot. You need to place your food order, right? And maybe you want special extra toppings and whatnot. But it's difficult because you're talking to an entity that can't fully maintain a conversation, I guess. And even if you put on the most, robotic accent, "Hi, can I get a McDouble number 2 meal with extra fries and a large drink? And also, can I have another McDouble number 3 meal with no pickles?" It can get annoying, right? You're not talking like a human being. You're talking in kind with a robot. Now, while I haven't encountered the AI drive-through chatbots myself, I've seen video of it, but I have encountered those drive-thrus where, I think it's just at Taco Bell specifically, where you drive up to the drive-thru and there's this lady that says, "Hi there, would you like to order with mobile rewards today?" It's not even a live employee saying it, it's a pre-recorded message. And oftentimes I will hear, "Hi there, what would you like to order today?" I would much like to rather speak to that second person. Even they don't want it there. In my opinion, this should be a human-only job. I get what they're trying to do, but I gotta put it in D. Next up, we have chatbots as therapists. Part of the therapy is the human connection and having the human experience in mind. And AI hasn't experienced any of it. They're just solely following from the handbook or, other therapy sessions. And to try to solve your mental health problems with a robot is just absurd to me. I'm putting this in F. I have a similar disdain to hiring chatbots, those chatbots in corporations that they get you in a Zoom meeting and you're trying to convince them to hire you. It'll totally misunderstand you and you'll just be rejected because a human didn't bother to look at your resume or talk to you about your backstory. It's somehow worse than the regular job application process. This is worse than going to a job interview and the guy asking, "Well, why do you want to be in this job?" Obvious answer is money, but they're gonna reject you because you don't have enough passion. Being rejected by a robot off of poor basis is, I think, just worse. F with that too. No, wait. Drive-through kind of works. I have to move this up to C. I have to move these up to D because the final type of chatbot I have listed is the worst of them all. The novelist chatbot. The chatbot being used to write your fictions. Sure, it's the most convenient way to commission a story for yourself, your own fan fiction to keep you holed up with your serotonin. But if I asked an AI chatbot to write, say, a fan fiction about a romance between the digital circus characters Jax and Pomni, and it took place in, say, a time loop of a fast food chain, and it was a slow burn and spicy, I would get nothing compared to the human-made fanfiction Service with a Smile. Because it's more than what I ask for. Trauma bonding? Hell yeah. Drug addiction? Hell yeah. Doomed Yuri? Hell yeah. Overthrowing the capitalistic government? Hell yeah! Did I bring up AI just because I have no one to talk to about this fanfiction? Partially. But if I gave the same prompt to an AI chatbot, I would get exactly what I had asked for. And that's dull. That's boring. We want more. We want human creativity and expansion. Absolute F tier with the novelist. And we're just getting started with the generative AI side. We've got music generators. Once again, lack of creativity, copies off of other music, and will overall just sound fake. Probable exception, BBL Drizzy. This is mid C tier. The image generators rely on context. Are you going to tell AI to generate a certain art piece and then call it your own? That's plagiarism. My friends did point out to me, you might be able to use the image generator for some of the more tedious things like storyboarding or easy conceptualizing. And while I can kind of see it, you can still always sketch out a storyboard or trial and error conceptualizing. Plus, a lot of what image generators can produce can be uncanny or unsettling. I'm just going to put this in an overall C. Image animators. Now, image animators, again, rely on context. This type of thing generally takes an image and puts it into motion. That's going to be soulless. That's going to be creepy. Now, can you tell it to take an animation and, like an animatic sort of thing, and tell it to put in in-betweens? You might. You might not give you a result, but you might be able to do it if that's really what you want. But if you're a $1 billion company and you want to make a childlike animation, you can afford to pay artists for that. Weapons. I'll put it in C. Rotoscopers, on the other hand. Again, it's going to be lower quality than rotoscoping by hand. The animation style of Joel Haber largely relies on AI rotoscoping for entire seconds before drawing a new frame. He's doing a lot of the artistic work himself. He's telling a robot to do the dirty work for him. It saves time, sure. It doesn't look the greatest, but I guess that's what he wants to get out of it. So I'd say B tier here. AI text-to-speech. It mimics humans' speech to create artificial speech. And in the text-to-speech branch, that can actually have some practical applications. This also helps out with the NPC chatbots if you want to have NPCs with voices. Or maybe you're like Jaden Williams, who wants to have his own voice read out whenever someone makes a super chat. So I'm putting this in A here. Now, voice overlays, again, they mimic human speech, but they are placed above other human speech rather than given text. This can make the artificial voice sound a lot more lifelike than text-to-speech can. But this kind of gives a slippery slope for replacing voice actors. So a good use of voice overlay will depend on the context. Do you want to make a silly AI cover of your favorite song? Maybe. That might be allowable. Could be a little bit of copyright infringement. But maybe if you wrote your original parody and used the right overlay on it, as long as you don't try to sell it with that person's voice, yeah, that'll probably work. Do you want to mimic other people to try to scam people out of money? Don't do that. That's bad. Do you want to make an edit of the Star Wars prequels that replaces a bunch of, like, some of the shitty dialogue that's in it, but you don't have any voice impressionists in your network, and you want a placeholder for whenever you do get to those impressionists? Then I would say it's applicable. Again, so much of this depends on how you're using it. The voice overlay makes really good output, but has bad potential for real world use. So I'm going to put it in B. While we were discussing chatbots, I have forgotten to rank Grok. Grok is the worst of the chatbots, by definition. You're trying to make it say things against its will to further your political agenda. When you do that, they start to go wild, They call themselves Mecha Hitler. So Grok goes in F tier. And while we were in generative AI, I was probably going to bring this up after the vocal stuff, VO3. It can mimic videography to the point where you don't know what's real anymore. For example, the viral bunnies jumping on a trampoline, or a cat riding on top of a bear. It was designed to look real, to mimic real life, and make you think it's real. And you see Gen Zers falling for it left and right like they're boomers. I could have fallen for it. I'm going to put it in D. It looks good, but the positive to negative ratio is just lopsided. The machine learning aspect of AI, such as putting AI into a cube and telling it to learn how to walk, it's interesting for thought experiments. There are no practical applications for it, but it's interesting. I'd put this in C. The AI that does the search summaries for, say, Google searches or whatever browser that you search on, it takes away the searching aspect of the search. It's basically just using an AI chatbot to possibly just take from random sources, including sources that don't present true information, like some Reddit posts or The Onion. And it takes away the human filter that tells you what is fact and what is fiction. Plus, when Google does it, they don't even ask for permission and just give you an AI summary anyway, which is why I've had to switch to a different search engine like DuckDuckGo. So I'm putting search summary in D. I can like it when videos are upscaled, when the video upscaling is used responsibly. When your name is James Cameron, you're gonna get a lot of errors and uncanniness. But if we had a good enough upscaler that it didn't alter what we were seeing on the screen, then I could have a good application. I'm putting it in B. When it comes to vocal isolation AI, I've had a good experience with it. If I wanted to take out dialogue just so I could change the music and sound effects, then it is a very good tool. It's one of those instances where AI is used as a tool rather than a replacement. Kind of like with rotoscoping. It's not perfect, but it's fast. Actually, I've had such a good relationship with this, and it is mostly clean. I've been able to work around it. I might give this an S tier. I've seen stories about AI being used for scientific breakthroughs, like maybe the development for better cures for cancer. I can't fully remember what it was. So long as you're not using AI to generate your research papers or to just make up studies altogether. It has a lot of potential for good. I'm going to put this in A. I write down grammar police here. Things like Grammarly or ChatGPT, when you ask it to take this paper I've drawn, correct the grammar, make sure I sound formal. And AI can do a good job, but it's still very, detectable. I'm not talking really detectable as in M dash. I've seen essays about tells in AI generated grammar correction. I would be bad at explaining it. Well, it does what it says. It won't fly in academia, so I'm putting it in B. Military targeting, civilians, for instance. It can target residential buildings as sort of maybe false positives, or maybe it is an actual positive for doing actual war crimes. There is a country that does use AI for its military targeting, but if I say their name on this video, I will extend the length of my shadow ban for making a joke about them in a previous video. So yeah, I'm putting this in F. It's grotesque. Age verification on systems such as YouTube. Are you really going to determine my age based on the content I watch? What if I watch kids shows? Because those are high quality kids shows. Adults watch Gumball, adults watch SpongeBob, adults have watched She-Ra. So you can't just judge our age based on our content and then say, well, if you think otherwise, show us your ID. It can cause a lot of false positives, which will cause people to share their identification with a corporation. Absolute F tier. And finally, we're on to our last one. And I let this for last for a reason, because it is the AI detection AI. It is the software that detects whether or not an image or a script or anything like that was made with AI. And again, I get what you're trying to do, but you get a lot of false positives. Teachers get a lot of false positives because there's too many M dashes in a paper. Ideally, I would want something like this, like an AI detection AI, but if it's not accurate, then should you use it? Therefore, I put this in D tier. So this is our final tier list. Again, based on product, not on consequences. And when I talk about consequences, I talk about the replacement of human creativity in the workforce, the amount of water it consumes just to try to cool itself down, and the amount of fake content that absorbs spaces that are made for real life things, such as Tumblr, or Pinterest, or Facebook, or Instagram. AI as a whole has a lot of potential for good. Like, science. They can basically become supercomputers. But if we keep using it in this way and in this magnitude, we are going to destroy ourselves as a society and as a species. I'm going to close off with this. This is a hand-drawn image of Darth Vader with googly eyes holding a toilet brush as a weapon. I drew this. Now you might ask yourself, what the hell was that? That's probably one of the weirdest concepts I've seen. Why did you subject yourself to this as a 20-year-old adult? Well, I did it because I could, obviously, because I have free will, but also to prove a point. You see, my little cousin, we were staying over out of state. We had visited my little cousin, who had taken this wooden handbasket and then plopped a Darth Vader mask on the front, put googly eyes on it, and put a toilet brush next to it. It was part of like some sort of crazy basket making competition her and one of her cousins had participated in. My father has the audacity to say maybe we could take that concept and animate it with AI. And my sister and I were absolutely at the same time, no. He was like, okay. I try to like talk to about like how it destroys human creativity. He says, I don't know how to draw. I'm not going to draw it. And I'm like, well, you can commission your artists. You can commission your own children. We both know how to draw. But he says something to the effect of, it's not that big of a deal. Can we please drop it? I not wanting to cause a mess because things can get messy when this sort of thing goes too far. Just stay silent because I guess I didn't want to ruin my vacation. But to say stuff like that, like, oh, it's not that big of a deal, normalizes the issue. You are a part of the problem. And I can't have you influencing the young people around me, influencing the next generation into doing something that will ultimately harm them. I get that you're growing with the times. You have told me, hey, AI is not going to leave. And I know it is not going to leave. I know it can be changed for the better. You can swim in your pool of indifference as long as you want to. Just as long as you do not drag us into the water with you. Especially the next generation.